Hey students, I have a quick video here. Before we get into modeling markets with supply and demand, I want to give a few pieces of information to help set the context. And one piece of information comes from the website, which I'll link to here. It's related to properties of goods. So it turns out that markets aren't always great at helping decide pricing or helping discover pricing and discover ways to provide goods and resources to people. It turns out that sometimes it doesn't do a very good job. And that's not enough information. We want a mechanism for understanding when you want to be market based, if to that extent, and when if the market is not arising, why government might need to play a stronger role. Or maybe you find that one market is very exclusive, extractionary to against a certain group of people. Maybe there's policy in place or policy you can put in place to help that out. Well, economists have a nice little tool set up based on two properties that help us lay out different types of goods and services. And it's not any simple tool, it's not perfect, but it does provide a way of thinking which areas are markets going to more likely to work better relatively, and which areas are you going to need a different type of policy and institutional basis for. And so what we have here is two categories that economists think about. Over here is excludability. Over here is being rival. I'm not going to talk too much about being rival right now. We will get to that later in the course. Being rival means it asks the question, if you consume something, am I now unable to consume that? So if you eat a Snickers bar, then that specific Snickers bar is gone. I cannot eat it. So perhaps we each had money to bid up on it, and you won the bid. That's what rivality is referring to there. But for our purposes in this brief episode, I want to talk about excludability. So excludability, you ask a question whether a good or service is excludable. And the answer would be yes if that good or service can be essentially denied a person. If there's some reason, either they don't have enough money to pay for the Snickers bar, or something along those lines, that they may go without getting it, that person would be excluded, that potential customer. If someone wants a job but might not be able to get it because it's already been filled, or for some other reason, that person is excluded as well. So excludability is one mechanism for looking at different things, looking at different types of services. Here's an example on the other hand. There's some things that we provide in society that are not excludable, either due to their nature. Okay, so information that gets out into the public sphere, it's not contained anymore. Anyone can access it. Air, oxygen. Oxygen is out there. It's not contained by a company or a corporation. It's something we freely have. So you can't, it's not excludable. These two things are not excludable to people by their nature. Other things, some societies may decide we don't want them to be excludable, such as primary and high school education. In the US and in many other developed countries, they made the political decision that all kids would get those would get those services, would get that education. And it's not going to be an exclusionary thing. It's not excludable based on policy. So things can be in this realm down here, either by their nature, such as international waters, which is a mixture of policy and by its nature, but it's not excludable. Many people can have access to it, as well as general information. But we're not focusing on that now. We're focusing on those things when you ask the question, are they excludable? And that's a key point, because it is for those those goods and services that are excludable that our markets work. That markets work for. Okay, the models for markets work for these types of goods. Because as we'll see, when you look at supply and demand, you'll see that a certain quantity is found to be at an equilibrium in the market. Not everybody who wants a good gets it. You only get the good if you can meet the market price, if you can purchase it. So people who meet the price are in the market, right? They're not excluded, but people who don't meet the price are excluded. So in order for our market mechanisms to work, excludability is key. Now, how do you define excludability? Well, you have to basically establish that if I'm going to sell you something, I have to own it. And you have to have payment that you have ownership for. And if you want to buy what I'm selling, say a cup of lemonade, you're going to give me money, and I will give you the lemonade that I made with my own ingenuity and hands, and we'll make a transaction. But until that point, I own that lemonade. It's my property. And you have your money, which is yours, and we make an exchange. That's going to be the realm of private markets. So private goods, lemonade is an example of a private good. It's excludable. If you didn't have money, I wouldn't pass my property of lemonade to you in a market environment. And it also happens to be rival. If you drink that lemonade, someone else doesn't get it. So we're talking primarily about private goods. Now, it's just a key point. What's required to make these things private? Well, again, it's some sort of property rights. Okay. Property rights. Oh dear. I'm really messing that one up. So property rights, that you own that lemonade in order to sell it. That's a legal statute, so you would have law holding that together. You would have some kind of safety and protection. So if somebody tries to steal your lemonade, you either have self-protection, or you can call the police and they can help you out. So protecting your property. A third one is, we have kids selling lemonade, and they don't have to go be lawyers or have lawyers and bodyguards to do it. Basic human morality, in many cases, most cases, acknowledge that a kid who's trying to work hard and earn some money, there should be some respect there, and so you don't knock over destroy their property or take their property. So also, it's the realm of social norms that help establish property rights and protect property rights from people. So we assume when we start talking about supply and demand in markets, we don't just jump into it and say this is going to work all the time. There's these other factors that we have to make acknowledged, that these things are being protected, that property rights are being protected, I can sell something, I can buy something through force of law, through protection. My things are safe. It's not utter lawlessness, and that there are these social norms and morals in place that allow these transactions to occur.